chickens always go to the roost.
That's okay.
Yep, sure do, don't they?
All right, guys, let me get started here. But what I want to do first is I want to rehash some stuff we talked about last week, because I had someone come to me afterwards and say they were a little confused on the Israelite Jewish thing. And so I know if one person is confused, probably a good chance more than one person might have left confused. So let me go over that real quickly, folks, and then we'll get started with finishing chapter 13.
Linda wasn't.
Just the Linda girl.
Which one, that one?
Which
Yeah.
Both of them.
All right, guys, so I'm going to revisit the 12 tribes of Israel real quickly. I just know there's some confusion. The goal is just to hopefully make it a little bit clearer. Let me start by saying this. There was Abraham, then there was Isaac, and then there was Jacob, right?
Yes.
Those three are considered the patriarchs. When Jacob was alive, not Abraham or Isaac, but Jacob. When Jacob was alive, he had a special encounter with God. This encounter that he went through resulted in God telling Jacob, I'm changing your name. How do I know this to be true? Because the scriptures tell us it's true. I got it up here for you. Genesis chapter 35. Now we're in 13. So this is several chapters later, right? We read, and this is the Jewish Bible version. God said to him, your name is Yaakov. That's Hebrew for Jacob. But you will be called Yaakov no longer. Your name will be Israel. Thus he named him Israel. So God changed Jacob's name to Israel. Who comes from the house of Israel? Well, no, let me rephrase that. So anybody born to Jacob / Israel is now going to be considered the house of Israel. Does that make sense? All right, so far we're so good, right? Jacob had 12 sons. Those 12 sons are the 12 tribes of Israel. Does that make sense?
Yep.
All right, cool. The 12 tribes of Israel are also called the whole house of Israel. You may have heard that last week. Right here is a graph of all these tribes and sons. Sons of Jacob, the tribes of Israel. So everybody born to Jacob is going to be considered Israel, right? Does that make sense, everybody, so far? Cool. Look who's in the tribes. You know some of these people. Reuben, Levi. What's the tribe of Levi?
The priest.
The priest. What about Judah?
Praise.
Gad and Asher? How about Joseph and Benjamin? Now you'll notice that Ephraim, that we talked about last week, was born under Joseph. They call it the house of Ephraim, but really it's the house of Joseph. Does that make sense? The reason why they call it Ephraim is because when Ephraim was born, the tribe was so big they just transferred the name from Joseph to Ephraim. That's all it is.
Manasseh's in the middle of that.
Who? Oh, he's another offspring of Joseph.
Yeah.
Yep, gotcha. What about the tribe of Benjamin, right? Every one of these people are called Israelites. Not every one of these people are called Jews.
Right.
Make sense? Who came from the tribe of Judah that you know?
David.
King David. King Solomon. Eventually, Jesus Christ. He's a Jew because he came from the tribe of Judah. That make sense? All right. You see all these other people. What about Benjamin? You ever heard of King Saul?
Yes.
All right. King Saul came from the tribe of Benjamin. Is Benjamin a Jew?
No, he isn't.
Well, let's find out. Because there was a civil war. And these guys split up. That makes sense? Follow me so far? They were split up into 2 different kingdoms, they called them. A northern kingdom and a southern kingdom. 10 of the 12. 10 of these guys went north, 2 of these guys went south.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Hopefully I haven't lost anybody real quick. All right, let me get to the next screen here. All right, so here's the two kingdoms, and it's not a good picture, I know. But what I'm trying to do is, we have the yellow, which is the northern kingdom, 10 tribes. These 10 tribes were given certain sections of land in that kingdom. The southern part is just 2 tribes, Benjamin and Judah. That's the reason why Benjamin and the people in that tribe are considered Jews is because they belong to this southern kingdom. The southern kingdom was called the tribe of Judah. Actually, what happened, and I can't give you the real historical context, but here's the short version. The Benjaminites decided to join forces with Judah and combine themselves, and then therefore everybody that was born from there is considered Jewish. Does that make sense? Hopefully that makes sense here. So the biggest and best tribe of each kingdom, that's where the name came from. The biggest and best tribe of the southern kingdom was Judah. The biggest and best tribe of the northern kingdom was Ephraim. Ephraim, I don't know if I'm saying that right. This is all considered the whole house of Israel.
Yes.
But it is 2 different kingdoms. All right. All tribes are Israelites. All tribes came from Jacob, didn't they?
Yes.
All Jews come from Jacob too, so they're Israelites, but all Jews are specifically from the tribe of Judah. So if you are born in this area up here, you're not a Jew.
You're a Gentile.
You're an Israelite because you belong to Israel, but you're not Jewish. Now, side note. Speaking of today, fast forward to today, most people combine all these people and call them Jews.
Well, yeah, because they are from...
But that's not the technical sense of it. And you have to understand that if you want to understand Bible hermeneutics correctly. All right? Jews are specific people. Jesus Christ is a Jew, a specific person from a specific tribe. Why is he from the tribe of Judah and not from Manasseh? Because Scripture said, your Messiah is coming from Judah.
Yes.
All right? That's why. That's one of the reasons you know. All right, guys. So now, the Ezekiel prophecy says, that we talked about last week, that at some time in the future, after Ezekiel wrote his prophecy, these 2 people were going to combine back into one.
Yes.
Do you remember what the scenario was that we talked about last week? Of combining them into one? You will after I show you this picture.
The 2 sticks.
2 sticks. 2 sticks.
2 sticks.
2 sticks. Get them the 2. Sometimes they're
All right, I forgot to show you this slide because I got busy talking. The 10 tribes of the northern kingdom, they belong to the house of Israel, Ephraim. The 2 southern tribes in the southern kingdom, they are the Jews of today. That's the technical sense. We already talked about it, but I forgot to show you
Now,
that
is that
slide.
friendly?
Pardon me?
Some of them are.
Well, no. I think they're trying to get friendly with each other, but no, when they split. That's why the kingdom split, because there was a civil war.
Yeah.
Yes.
Judah means Judaism, basically, and there's other kinds of religions up in the northern especially. They're all Hebrews, though.
Yeah,
There you
that
go.
was my question. Yeah.
Yeah, from Judah.
Where does the word Hebrew come from?
Hebrew.
Was Noah a Hebrew?
No.
Was Adam and Eve Hebrews?
No.
No.
Where does the Hebrews come from? Miss, you brought it up, Missy. Who they come from? So,
The Bible.
Should know.
Abraham.
Abraham.
They're associated with Abraham.
Yeah.
Abraham's Hebrews. All right, so the 2 sticks, Ephraim and the house of Judah, are going to join into 1 stick one day. That's what the prophecy is. There is some contention that the prophecy has already happened. There's others who think the prophecy has not happened yet. And then there's people like me who thinks it's happening right now. All right, so there. Did that hopefully clear up if I confused anybody? Something, I hope.
Shut up, Mike.
She's like, what?
I said, shut up, Mike.
Oh,
She's going like
he's
this.
like, no. So, come on, Mike. Be nice,
Doing it
right?
on purpose.
All right.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right, so let's commence on our Bible study to finish chapter 13 tonight, all right? I was supposed to finish this last week, so hopefully we're going to rehash a little bit of stuff, but we're also going to have some new stuff here. So let's talk about Israel, guys. Today, we're in the throes of a severe argument over the land that the Jews return to. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
It's also the land that the house of Ephraim is going to come back to someday.
Yes.
Right? They're going to join the two sticks. That's joining here in Israel.
Yes.
The argument, this argument that we're talking about, this whole thing of the two houses coming back is going to throw the entire world into one final war. When it happens, according to prophecy. If you read the rest of Ezekiel after what we read last week, it talks about this coming war after the two sticks are joined together. That coming war is called Armageddon. You've heard of that, right? Are we at war right? Is Israel at war right now?
Yes.
Is that connected to the prophecy of Armageddon?
Yes.
Maybe bringing it in. I
I
don't think
believe it
it's
is.
quite Armageddon yet.
Gotcha.
I believe it is.
It could. I believe it's connected,
Yeah.
but it's not the final.
It's not Armageddon.
Right? But it's probably connected.
Yeah. It's going to get there, I think.
Okay. Some people argue about the precise boundaries of the land that God gave Abraham. Some people argue about this. But for sure, friends, for sure, at the very least, the land of Israel includes every inch of land that Israel has today in its possession. It also includes the two Palestinian lands.
Yes.
Do you know what the two Palestinian lands are?
Gaza and West Bank.
Right. Gaza is that small area right now where this war is happening. West Bank is this area right here. But for sure, this whole entire area was given to Abraham. For sure. We're going to talk about that here in a little bit. Linda Trimmer,
Yes.
I asked you to do some homework last week.
You did.
Tell us what you found out.
Okay. From Brian earlier, I was writing, we had so much discussion going on. I had written down research where Abraham was standing when, and then it was blank.
All right.
And so
what I asked you was, I want you to point on this map where Abraham was standing when God gave him the command, or the instruction, not the covenant, sorry,
it's the
that says, I'm giving you all this land.
Right.
Where was Abraham standing?
He was standing, to my knowledge, in what was Mamre? Mamre?
Okay.
He was back and forth. Abraham's a nomad, so this dude is like all over the place. I went back and forth between the chapters trying to track exactly where he was. And at some point right between, in chapter 15, between 13 and 15, he had been in Canaan, and then he was in Egypt before then, and then he went to Mamre, which is West Bank, currently in today's terms, and then back to Canaan. But I believe it was Mamre. Is that right?
Can you point to it on the map?
It would be somewhere there in West Bank in the in the peachy color.
It's somewhere in this area
One
right
of
here?
those, yeah.
But how can that possibly be? Because this is Palestinian land.
Wasn't then.
It's not now either.
Yeah.
They think it is,
Right.
but it's not.
Right.
All right.
Right.
Okay, guys.
Well, which son did it belong to? Ishmael
job.
or
Good job.
Isaac, right?
It was
Good job.
I was
Good
right.
job.
All
right.
And really, I got to thinking about it. Well, Canaan just stands for Israel. Which is all of that, and then some. So yeah.
Well, he
So-
got hungry and he went to Egypt a couple of times too.
Right. Yeah, and there were all these little towns, and I kept looking up what's this in Montana?
You will read in the Bible that he was 5 miles north of a town called Bethel.
Yes.
You've heard churches called Bethel Church?
Yeah.
5 miles north of Bethel is where Abraham was standing.
Mm-hmm.
Here's Bethel right here.
Mm-hmm.
5 miles north of this is where he was standing. All right. Right in the middle of what?
Somewhere I wrote that down.
The West Bank. All right, guys, all right. So let's move on. I want you all to think about the American government for the past 30 years. Everybody in this room can think of who was president 30 years ago except for maybe one. All right? Now, I want you to think of the last 30 years, guys, all the presidents that we've had, not just Biden. I want you to think about Trump, Obama, Bush, Clinton, Bush, Reagan, Jimmy Carter.
No.
All right? Let me ask you a question. What has been the American stance for the most part of the past 30 years about this land right here? What has been the American stance?
Support Israel. Stand by Israel.
Okay? Anybody else care to offer anything? The American stance has been, for the last 30 years, that Palestine is a sovereign nation and they should have their own piece of land. They should have their own piece of land so peace can be kept. What do they call that officially, guys? You're going to recognize it when I say it. The Americans have always been at the forefront of the two-state solution. You ever heard of the two-state solution? You sure have. Two states. The state of Israel and the state of Palestine living in one area. The two-state solution. Not only is our government leading the charge for a two-state solution, but my friends, there are a lot of churches in America demanding the very same thing. That there should be a two-state solution.
So are you talking the orange?
Talking
You're thinking
about
it should be
Gaza.
Palestine?
the two-state solution is two different states living in one area.
Yeah.
The solution is peace. That is the two-state solution. I'm going to throw a name out that most of you are probably going to remember. Yasser Arafat.
Yes.
You know that name.
Yeah.
Who was he?
Murderer. He was a murderer.
He was the head of the Palestine.
Ah.
The state of Palestine.
Okay.
Now, he's no longer around. Who is now in charge of the state of Palestine for this area?
Iran.
Hamas. Hamas is the government.
Yeah.
That's who Israel's going after right now. Who's in charge of this area of Palestine? The West Bank. Hezbollah. Probably may have heard of them.
Yeah.
It's a different government system, but they are both Palestinians.
So Hezbollah is in charge of West Bank? I thought they were up around Syria.
They're up in the north and this area here as well. You know, what's over here too? This is also infiltrated by a bunch of Jordanians.
Yeah, isn't Jordan and Syria over there?
Yep, right over here. So, okay, guys. So let me move on because I don't want to keep you guys late tonight. I'm sorry. So not only is our government leading the charge for a two-state solution, I said churches in America are leading the charge to have a two-state solution. Here's the problem, friends.
Bible doesn't say it that way.
They've been fighting since they ain't gonna long, it ain't gonna work. That's why it's a problem.
Well, wait a minute, guys. Why do you think there's people advocating a two-state solution? Why do you think there are governments like America and churches in America advocating that these people just live together? You give Palestine their piece of land and Israel their piece of land.
To keep the peace.
Yes.
Yeah.
In the name of love and tolerance and fairness, right?
Everybody can just get along.
All those traits and characteristics of Jesus that we talk about all the time.
Right.
That's what they throw out there. There's a problem with that, guys.
It's not biblical.
The land of Israel, the land of Israel is precisely the land God gave to Abraham. And he set aside that land for Abraham and his descendants for all time.
Yeah, it's very clear in his covenant.
Someone read verse 15 to me. Chapter, you got it right in front of you if you have a
All
piece
the
of paper.
land you see, I will give to you and your descendants forever.
So does forever mean forever?
Forever and ever and ever.
All right.
There's no
So,
wishy-washy.
Does it say that God gave that land to Israel forever, but you can give some of it back to Palestine?
No.
It doesn't say that, does it? Okay. Some people think that's a good idea, but it doesn't say that scripturally, right?
Right.
It is very sad, folks, but the United States government is playing a major role in forcing this to happen right now.
Yeah.
They are. They are leading the charge for a two-state solution. But it appears right now, folks, and I don't know what you guys think, but it appears that God's had enough of this. It appears God said, no, enough's enough. And I'm getting it back. Israel's acting like they've never acted as long as I've been alive. They are taking no prisoners. They don't care what America says about a ceasefire.
No.
They are taking care of business.
Yeah.
That, however you say his name, whenever I hear him talking, it doesn't matter.
You're talking about Netanyahu?
Yeah, we are doing what we need to do, and that's what we're gonna do.
Well, because they're not going to have that happen again to them,
Well, no,
If this is prophecy,
should they?
this is the way it's got to go, isn't
it is.
it? So,
It's very clear in the Bible.
so what God principle could we be witnessing right now with this whole area right here? Can you think of a God principle that we've talked about over the past 13 chapters?
There's so
what?
many.
God's
One of his
principle
principles.
of dividing, separating
Reading.
for His purposes.
Yeah.
Do you think that could be happening right now?
Yep.
Sure seems like it, right? Sure seems like it could be. Part of this dividing process that I'm proposing to you guys really comes down to an individual answer to a certain question. So I want to ask you all an individual question. And if you're willing to share your answer, I'd love to hear it. I'll share you mine if you want to hear it. But here's the question. Where do you stand on Israel?
With them,
Where do you stand?
behind them.
So Vicki, I love you. You're my wife, so I know you. Here's what I think you're saying. You stand that all of this is Israel.
Yes.
That's where you stand.
I'm with it.
I'm with it too.
You are too? Okay.
If God said it,
It's very clear. It lays out from the Euphrates to whatever, I don't remember that Bible verse, but it's very clear. It is to belong to the tribes. Those people are to come together. Ezekiel, we read about Ephraim and what's his name coming together. There's too many names, I can't remember, my brain's full, but it's very clear in the Bible. So if, to me, if you are a believer, how can you not stand with Israel for this to be one nation? It is the house of Israel. God made that covenant years, thousands of years ago. We can't go against that, not if we want to go to heaven. That's my opinion.
Any other comments?
I mean, I disagree, but I don't fully disagree. I made that clear in previous weeks also, you know.
Would you care to elaborate anymore?
At this temporal point in time, it may not be theirs, though they are seemingly taking it back. I mean, if that's God's will, so be it. That's a good thing. But, you know, I don't know God's will, so I don't want to say necessarily that I stand for exactly what they're doing. Now, if it is in God's will, which, I mean, you guys say it is, I mean, I don't know. I don't know God's will
Well,
is, you know.
well,
You can
yeah,
read it right in the
you
Bible.
can read it right there.
Well, that's assuming that they're supposed to join together at this time and take their land back at this time, right? What if God has that plan for a later date and they're actually doing it early?
Got
No,
you.
what we're saying
I
is,
I'm just saying I don't know.
I understand what you're saying, because we all know the Middle East have been fighting for thousands
Yeah.
of years. You know, those people have been fighting with each other forever.
And Israel lost their land once during the exile also,
Right.
so I'm not saying they won't be back together at the end of time. I'm not saying they don't have a claim to that land, at least, you know, through the covenant that
But
God
when you-
gave to them.
But when
What
you
I'm
look
saying
at,
is, right, in terms of standing against them, I don't think that just because I don't necessarily have a stance on the war doesn't mean that I don't stand for Israel, because I know
Right.
Israel is God's people.
Mhm.
Because at the end of time, I stand with them. I just don't know. It depends if what they're doing now is God's will or not, and that I can't know.
but what
But I
we're
also
saying
trust,
is.
I trust
it
God's
is
sovereignty
Israel's
in what's
land.
going on also,
matter
though.
who.
Right.
So that's also why I don't take a stance. I'm just letting it.
and me saying I stand with Israel, as a human being, of course I want those innocent people, those Palestinians who are innocent and not evil,
Yeah.
if they're there surely are some that are not evil.
Well, yeah, the ones that are
But, you
leaving.
know, nobody as a human being, I don't want bad things to happen. But when you look at the big picture of everything that's going on in the world right now, I am with the stance with Brian that this is the beginning. And we already know, you know, it started out with Hamas, and then Hezbollah came in, and then there were other terrorist groups that Iran has a back, that they are also now against Israel. When you factor those things in and you see it blowing up, I can see how down the road Armageddon's gonna come.
So, let me ask, is occupancy the same thing as ownership?
No,
So it doesn't matter who occupies the land.
right.
Right,
What matters
It
is
is,
who owns the land.
yes.
God gave it
Who owns the land?
to Israel.
Israel.
So then it doesn't matter who's occupying it.
Right.
No.
Whether Israel occupied it and then left and came
That's
back and
true.
left, that's irrelevant.
Yep. That's
God owns this, and He gave it to somebody.
Yeah.
So therefore, they now own it. You really can't dispute that, can you?
No, I reread through the covenant, it broke down all the covenants, I
That's what I
reread through
was
that
trying to
today, and that covenant is ironclad. I mean, you can't go against God's covenant.
Sorry, this is
Well, I think the United
Clements.
has done more. If you would look at how many, in the last 30 years, how many billion dollars we've given Jews to, and we give them money and they fight. You'd be surprised how many billions of dollars the United States has backing the Jews, but it don't make any difference. They'll do what they want to do anyway.
Well,
So.
that's because they're their own people.
Well, if you give, you take.
We give billions of dollars to Iran, but they're not doing what we say.
Right, we give billions of dollars to Ukraine, they do
Yeah.
whatever they want with that land.
And we're a meal ticket.
For many countries, not just
I
Israel.
didn't say it, just,
Is it fair to say that if you advocate that Gaza and the West Bank should be here, you are not standing with God?
I don't necessarily think that's the case.
Okay?
I think there's more nuance to that.
Could you use I'm not a $10 guy, could you use a $5 word
It's, a nuance.
instead of nuance?
It's not as simple of a problem as.
Oh, okay, gotcha. So then, therefore, if I do advocate that Gaza should go to the Palestinians, I'm still standing with God.
Well, it
Well, they
depends
could
on, it
live there.
depends.
Okay, they could occupy it, right?
They could live there, but they couldn't be
And-
the owners.
And isn't that what's happened? They have lived there,
Yes.
but then what happened? They said, that's not good enough.
And they attack.
I want the rest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
That's what happened, right?
Yep,
That's why they invaded.
yep, that's all why it's from.
Okay, so,
now look at the rest of the world being involved, and we're not even near there.
true. So maybe that's even more evidence that this could be the final war. Because the whole world's getting involved.
Mhm.
Don't know, but it could be, right?
But if
And
they,
and not only is the whole world involved and they're giving very strong opinions. The people, my friend from Germany was talking about all of these uprisings and protests and stuff all over, and I was like, you know, she said, it's a good thing you live in America, and I was like, we're not exempt from that, are you kidding me? We have it here too.
All right, guys. Let's move on and finish chapter 13, okay? Can someone please read verses 14 through 18 for me?
Adonai said to Abram, after Lot had moved away from him, look all around you, from where you are, to the north, to the south, to the east, and to the west. All the land you see I will give you and your descendants, whatever that word is, and
And your peeps.
your seed forever. And I will make your descendants as numerous as the specks of dust on the earth, so that if a person can count the specks of dust on the earth, then your descendants can be counted. Get up and walk through the length and breadth of this land, because I give it to you. I will give it to you. Abram moved his tent, that beloved tent, poor thing, and came to live by the oaks of Mamre, which are in Hebron. There he built an altar to Adar.
Would you guys agree with me when I say that the words that we just listened to or you just read are still in effect today?
Yes.
Would you agree that they're going to be in effect until the end of all things?
Yes.
So the land that God showed Abraham was to be unconditionally Israel's forever. Is that true?
Yes.
That's true.
Is that the covenant?
Yes.
So then could I ask, who is that covenant between?
Abraham and his descendants.
And so
God.
have they followed that?
Well, the covenant is not based upon anything Abraham does to make it complete. The covenant is a covenant given by God that is forever. Abraham cannot change the covenant, and I'm not sure if that's what you're asking, but that's what I think you're asking.
Well, I'm just saying God has kept the covenant.
Right?
They have not.
Okay?
Right.
And so so the next question is what? Does that void the covenant?
No.
No.
Only God can
No,
void
I
it.
don't think that voice
They
is
brought on their own trouble.
bad.
Oh, they brought on their own trouble? I would not disagree with that.
If you read the Old Testament, whenever God made the covenants to the Israelites, he specified certain things that would happen if they didn't keep their part of the covenant. But that doesn't mean the covenant's not in effect. It just means that when they disobey, different parts of the covenant take effect. The exile would be a good example
Right.
of
Does that apply to this right here, this covenant with the land?
No. That's it.
This is not a cause and effect.
Yeah,
If you do this,
there was-
I'll do that.
There was
That's
no
not-
cause and effect in this one.
Not this one there isn't.
No.
There is in other ones, I agree, but
Yeah.
not this one.
I know.
That's why it's forever.
In this one, is this when they brought the animals and split them in half and
Well,
the birds, or was that later?
it's connected, but I think what you're asking is later, so I think if I understand what you're asking, but
But from what
covenant means to divide, to cut covenant, what you're talking about.
Right, I mean, there's gonna be consequences if Abraham's descendants don't abide by the covenant, but the covenant cannot be broken only by God. And God's not gonna break his own covenant.
I don't think he can break his covenant.
Right, it's impossible.
I mean, that's dangerous to
Am
say
I-
something like that sometimes.
I know,
It's like, is there anything God can't do? Right? Isn't that a dangerous question?
right?
All powerful.
Yes, he can't sin,
The
right?
only way,
But I don't like saying that because it's like,
but this is the covenant that Abraham's descendants, if they do something that does away with the covenant. This is not the way this covenant is set up.
Yeah.
Correct. So, all right, guys. Jerry, did I interrupt you or just?
No.
Okay, are we okay?
I'm just
Okay.
keep hearing covenant and I'm thinking, well,
Somebody broke it.
somebody has not been honest.
So, well, and that's, you compare, can't you say it about every human being alive?
Right?
Not just them, every human being alive
Yes.
has done what they shouldn't do. Whether it's with a covenant or
That's
disobeying.
splitting you and me.
All right.
I think God just ought to holler out and say, you know what? I'll take it from here.
There you go. All right, guys, so Abraham was standing at a place called Ramath Hazor. Ramath Hazor means high hill.
Yes.
He was standing on the highest hill in the land of Canaan when God gave him that. When he was standing on that highest hill, that is still today the highest hill, you can see the Mediterranean Sea, the Sea of Galilee, Egypt, Jordan, all of it. That's how high this is. It is the highest spot in central Israel. It has an altitude of almost 3,000 feet. From this spot, even today, you can see the Mediterranean Sea to the west. In Genesis 3:17, God said something. What did God say in Genesis 13:17? He said, "Get up and walk the length and breadth of the land because I give it to you." Right?
Yep.
What does that mean?
All the walking.
What in the world does that mean, and why is that in here?
Take it all in. This is all that I give you.
So was Abraham supposed to literally drop what he was doing and walk every square mile of this border?
No. I don't think
That's what this says.
That's what it says. It says you better start doing it. When God says you better do it,
no bound.
you probably should do it, right? Do you think this was reality or do you think it was symbolic?
To me, it was symbolic. But
Okay. Anybody else care to offer?
I don't know if it really matters either way. I mean, he could have walked it. I mean, he had time. He lived a long time.
Yeah, he did, didn't he?
I think maybe part of his descendants did part of the walking.
I mean, we know he traveled
We
to
said the
Egypt
God
at
of
least a couple
Abraham,
times,
Isaac,
probably. So, you know, I mean, he walked it.
Wasn't a problem to walk it, was it?
That was not the problem there, so it's not impossible.
So back in antiquity, even before this incident, there was something called, that the Hebrews called shazaka. That's a Hebrew word, shazaka. Shazaka is a legal word. It's a legal word, not only in that area, but in the era today, in Israel. It was also used throughout different peoples, not just Israelites, but people in the Middle East. Shazaka was used by Egyptians. Shazaka was used by Hittites. You can read about shazaka in all these documents of old antiquity. The concept of shazaka was this, that when a piece of property was acquired, the new owner had to walk the perimeter of the entire property.
That'll take a little time.
It was not symbolic. It was legal. All right? Until the new owner walked his new land, he did not own it. That's, the transfer of ownership was not complete until the new owner did his thing around the land, until he did his shazaka.
That makes sense.
That's why Abraham did it.
Did you walk around our land?
Yeah, exactly. So, shazaka. He was performing shazaka. He was taking ownership of all the land because A, God told him to do it, and because everybody else around him knew he better do it. Because that was the custom. They knew what he was doing when he was walking the perimeter. That's why God made him do it. So everybody else around can see what he's doing.
Yeah.
Marking his territory like the lion going and raising his leg.
Right? Yeah.
All right?
That makes sense.
That's why God told him to go and do that.
Would you spell that, please?
C-H-A-Z as in zebra. A-K-A-H.
Today it's easier, we just say Shazam.
Shazam.
It means the same thing.
It's a good thing God made him a nomad because he was used to moving around.
Is it reasonable to assume that when Abraham was doing this, he was not making any friends?
Probably not. Probably not.
Think about it. Was there people living in this land before God gave it to Abraham? You better believe it. So when Abraham was walking around marking his territory, do you think all those people were like, A, I know what you're doing, and B, I don't like it?
Yeah.
Where do you think this conflict came from?
Clear back then.
It's all the way back. People think they own this land, but God said, no, you don't. It's where it comes from, guys.
That would be
In a
hard.
roundabout way.
Yeah, that would be hard to take, really.
You can bet, I can just imagine all those people getting really mad at Abraham, right? But you also, guys, need to be aware, too, that when you study the Old Testament or the Torah, and specifically, you will find in general that God always uses His purposes using man-made systems. I don't know if I said that correctly. God will utilize man-made systems for His purposes. The man-made system at this time was shazaka.
Uh-oh, sorry.
So that's why it was done. All right, guys. Abraham would have been completely familiar and comfortable with God's instructions to tell him to go walk the land, because that's exactly how things were done back then. In fact, if he wouldn't have done that, this would not have been a good deal for Abraham, right? He would not have been obeying God. That's what I'm trying to say. I don't know if I'm saying that right here. Anyway. All right, guys. Anyway, so let me move on. It's, oh, I got a note here about my house, Vicki. So, about walking the land on my house. So let me, I think I'll skip that part. All right. So Genesis chapter 13 ends with Abraham moving to Hebron, right? And then after he moves to Hebron, he does something. What does he do? Builds an altar. Why does he build an altar? Here's why. Because it is customary back then that whenever you took ownership of a new land, you gave all the praise and glory to God. So you build an altar and you praise and glorify Him. He was acknowledging God's new sovereignty over all this land. That's why he built the altar. All right, guys. That ends chapter 13. We do not have a lesson next week because of Thanksgiving.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so we'll start 14 in 2 weeks. But I'm not done yet. Hang with me. Let's go back to this question that I asked you earlier about where do you stand with Israel? So we had two conflicting, is that the right word? Differing opinions? Is that fair?
Fair.
Yeah, all right, guys. We had two different opinions
They
thrown
attacked
out.
first, didn't they? I mean, they were attacked first, weren't they? Israel.
Oh, yeah, in this case they were, yeah. Yeah. I mean, yes, in this particular instance they were definitely attacked first. But I also mentioned some things about America and Christian churches. Do you understand the gravity of what I was implying with you guys?
Yes.
If you stand with Israel, you better not be advocating Gaza and the West Bank belong to Palestine. If you don't stand with Israel, then you would advocate. That's the simplistic view that he's telling me I shouldn't use. But that's the simplistic view. Do you think, and then I said something like this, America is leading the charge for the two-state solution. America and Christian churches are leading the charge for a two-state solution. Do you see a problem with that?
It won't work.
Does that seem to anybody else besides me that America is not honoring God?
Yeah.
Well, with that, yes, but there's a lot of other things that we haven't been honoring God.
Oh, no doubt. I mean, that's just one out of a billion. So, all right. So, if that's true, then would it be fair to say if you got a Christian church advocating a two-state solution, that would not be honoring God?
Or they don't understand.
Okay? But
No, hard to understand.
if they do understand, which they should if they're Christian, right?
It's
Because
not
they should.
It's not
Man,
hard to
the Bible.
understand.
Well, but I'm going to say this, a lot of churches, I've been in several churches, have never had this in-depth study
Right.
of Genesis, and they would not know that.
Gotcha.
I mean, just reading it without really studying and digging in, you don't know.
I understand. By the way, I wanted to show you this and I forgot. Here's a blown up picture of West Bank, Palestine. Look what cities are in the West Bank.
Hebron,
Bethlehem.
Yeah,
Jericho.
yeah,
Hebron.
yeah.
Are those Israel or what? Is that?
Yes.
That's Israel, right? Is Bethlehem not Israel? So, all right, gotcha. So, where is Jerusalem?
It's right in the little...
It is right here on the
right in
border.
there.
See that
Yep.
green line?
Yep.
Half of Jerusalem is in Palestine, the other half is in
Yeah.
Israel.
That's why
It's
that's...
crazy, isn't it? Anyway, just wanted to show you that.
I was wondering the other day where Bethlehem was. You know.
All right.
Just ask the wise men, they'll tell you. Yeah.
Let me get it back here, guys. I want you to read an article. There are 10 churches in the United States who have made a vocal opinion about Palestine.
Yeah.
Now Palestine could change the religion and Israel would absorb them, I'm sure, but they're not going to change.
Check this article out that I have for you. It's from the Washington Report on Middle East Affairs that was published in 2019. Read it.
Interesting.
The next page says warning, God fights for Israel.
Yeah.
What does this say to you guys with this article? What comes to your mind when you read this?
There's a lot of people in big doo-doo trouble.
I would say they haven't had this class.
Yeah.
Okay, so,
I don't think they're,
Misled.
pardon me?
They're misled.
yeah.
Oh, okay, so this is probably not a good thing, would you agree?
It is
Yeah.
not a
Not a
good
good
thing.
thing.
So not a good thing.
6 U.S. churches have passed resolutions, right? What does that mean? 6 denominations or
Yeah.
churches, right? You're gonna get mad at me.
One of them must be
Read that.
United Brother. They are.
Wow.
One of them searches the United Brother.
One of the churches
Wow.
is our denomination.
Yeah. So how's
I'm
that
just a
make you?
messenger.
How's that make you feel?
Yeah, exactly. How does it make you feel? What do you think, guys? It's kind of quiet in here.
Somebody's whining and it's supposed to try to.
I'm not, you know, I mean,
Well,
first,
we shouldn't belong to it.
my eyes went straight to the Catholic Church, Roman Catholic.
Yeah, Roman
I was
Catholic
like,
Church.
That's not a surprise to me. That is not a
Look
surprise
at
to
this,
me.
United Methodist
United
Church.
Methodist
All the
Church,
Catholics, the United Methodist.
right?
The Baptist?
The Baptist.
What denomination is not there?
Alliance of
Yeah, Mormons, right? Or, yeah, you know what I'm saying. Or no,
Yeah,
oh, Mennonite, that's what it was.
yeah, Mennonite.
Pentecostal's not up there, there you go.
How does that make you guys feel?
So,
Jehovah's Witness ain't up there.
So I was saying it's better to see.
I'm like, Vicki, what did you say? So we shouldn't belong?
shouldn't belong to it. I have a question.
Right.
Okay?
So we're saying, or you're saying that if you don't believe that all of this land should be Israel's,
Okay?
you can't, then you don't believe in God?
No.
You're not standing.
You're
You're
just,
not,
You're not, okay, but
you're not abiding by God.
You're not standing, so you can't go to heaven?
Oh, I don't know about that. God's the only judge there.
But that's,
I read the same thing you. What do you think?
I believe that it says in the Bible that the only way to heaven is through Jesus Christ. And if you've got Jesus Christ in your heart, no matter what you believe on this, you're going to go to heaven.
Okay?
But we will be
Argue that.
judged. We will be judged when we get there.
But this whole Palestine-Israel thing is not a salvation issue, right?
Right, right.
So that question is probably in a different genre or different
Yeah.
part of a discussion.
True.
This is not a salvation issue. This is, do you stand with God issue?
Yeah.
That's what it is, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not overstating it, I don't think. Do you stand with God? We just read an article where there were some churches in America that said, well, we're going to start standing with Palestine, right? And then I show you which churches they are. It's that.
But I don't ever remember the
I know! Isn't that a shock?
ever bringing that up.
So guess what Brian did when he found this out?
Yeah, I want to know that.
Brian said, I want to know what this church only has to say. That's what I want to know, because I'm upset.
Yeah.
So I'm going to show you what they said.
Oh,
Okay?
you did get a hold of it?
I called and left a message, but it's in print as well, though. Here it is. This is the United Brethren in Christ stance, right here.
We only have 23,000 members.
no, that's just the one.
This is back in, yeah.
Oh, okay, it's close to double.
On earth peace, the church of that were arrested, judged, and reported as they tried to enter Israel. Okay, they took us.
So what does that mean?
I don't know what this means.
Okay.
Okay.
So, did anybody after reading this do what I did? And I went, Here's the, whenever you're done, I'll tell you what 50-cent version of this is. You guys, are you done reading?
Yeah.
All right, here's the, I'm not official. I can't speak for this because I can tell you how I interpret it. And you tell me if it's close. All this says is the United Brethren people have decided to boycott Caterpillar and Hewlett Packard because those two companies joined in the fight with Israel versus Palestine. So the United Brethren took a stance, let's just boycott those two companies. That's my 50-cent version.
But a Church of the Brethren agency were arrested, jailed, and deported as they tried to enter Israel.
I don't know what that is. I have no idea what that means.
See, I wouldn't say that necessarily, because it says that that technology was used in weapons of destruction or death in Israel and Palestine. So maybe they just didn't want to contribute to the war in general.
Well, and when I read that, weapons routinely used in the death, destruction of Israel and Palestine, in that statement right there, it is stating there are two states. There's Israel and there's Palestine, and that's not true.
Well, it is legally, like, earthly legally true, you know.
But that's lower than God's legally, right?
Well, I mean, in the end of time, Israel's going to own it. That's all I care about.
Do what? Say what?
In the end of time, Israel owns it. That's all I'm worried about. You know, I know God said.
You mean occupies or owns it?
Owns it.
They've owned it forever. Well, since Abraham, right? Forever.
I went over that idea.
So, I view the words divest, means you're separating.
Right.
I use the word boycott, but that's the word they use is
the
divest.
opposite of invest.
Gotcha. So, but anyway, that's their stance. What do you guys think? Whatever it means.
I think people are walking the fence because people are saying, oh, some of the Palestinians are Christian and they stand with Israel even though they're in their Palestine. And some of the Israelites won't stand for Israel themselves because they've got different beliefs. So I think they're just walking the fence and not trying to.
Well, I think they need to put their big people panties on because there were good people that died in the flood when Noah got in the ark too.
That's true.
You don't mess with God.
You mean like Korea and Vietnam when they split?
Yeah, when Korea and Vietnam split, how do you walk that fence? Right.
I don't know,
I'd have to have some more
that troubles me.
information. I don't think that gives enough.
Right.
Yeah, it's not.
It's
really not clear black and white.
It's not. And like I said, they specifically list in the death and or destruction or death in Israel and Palestine, which is acknowledging to a reader, in my opinion, that Palestine is a state.
I mean, you call it Palestine also, so are you doing the same thing?
No, I was referencing that.
Well,
There are Palestinian people, but it is the state of Israel, period. Gaza is there, West Bank is there, there are Palestinians that live there, but it is the land of Israel, in my opinion.
What is
The government controls it's a God-given land. But that separates it out as if Palestine is its own state.
Well, I want to know, what about that on-earth peace? What do they do? I mean, they're part of us, and I've never heard of them.
Who's that?
That on-earth peace.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, I didn't know what that was either.
I wish I could answer all those questions. I don't know. That's all I could find.
I mean, because you can see these people are in our time and it's all they're looking at. If they don't know the background,
Right.
then they think, you know, that they're being mean and they're going over there and just killing those people. And they don't know the whole story.
On that, what you just said, they're going, you know, people think that Israel's being mean and stuff. I was telling Vicki, the only good thing, if you can say a good thing that comes out of this with killing the babies, is they'll be to me,
The Palestinian babies?
yeah, they would be in heaven.
Their innocence.
Well, that assumes you think babies go to heaven, though, but that's a whole nother debate.
Oh, of course they do.
What
There's
gets
a lot.
Yeah. Ooh, let's
It hurts me that they're killing babies, but the United States says, oh, to the health of the mother,
Yeah.
let's just kill babies legally.
Absolutely.
We're doing the same exact thing that they.
All have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God.
So, do you know what day these people invaded Israel? What day was that? This year?
October 7th.
All right, so on October 7th, this small people crossed the fence into Israel and killed a bunch of people, right?
Yep.
On October 6th, the day before, was there peace in the land?
No.
Yeah, compared to what's going on now.
Well, yeah.
They were getting along.
Right, they were still firing rockets sporadically before then.
Yeah.
But was there a ceasefire on October 6th? The day before October 7th? For all practical purposes, there were, right?
They were still firing missiles.
So what changed?
Repeatedly.
What happened on October 7th?
What changed?
They crossed.
These people invaded these people.
Yeah.
So whatever happens after that, being an ex-army guy, you get what you deserve.
Yeah.
Well, they started it.
Well, I think God controls everything. He has the power to do anything. And out of those 10 churches that we listed, some of them are really prospering. And I think if what we're saying is right, He wouldn't let them prosper.
Oh, I disagree.
I disagree with that too.
Why?
There's a lot of churches prospering that is not preaching the gospel.
Well, some are though.
A lot.
Everything that happens doesn't mean, sometimes God allows bad things to happen, even bad churches to profit. Sometimes God allows things to happen.
Look at the Methodist Church here. They are with the organization that says that they can have the homosexuals be ministers or whatever. They prosper, and they're not teaching their word.
They're not prospering like they used to.
Well, but
They're losing a lot of churches.
they've lost a lot of churches, but they still, the ones they have are prospering.
Well, we don't know that. We know this one is,
Yeah.
but we don't know
I
that the
didn't-
others
yeah.
are.
But you can't say that as a general, that,
I just think that sometimes people blame God for things that they shouldn't blame God for. Because we mankind, we screw things up big time. And so maybe we get prosperous, maybe we do this, maybe we do that, but that doesn't mean that God is supporting that. He lets things happen for a reason.
I agree with that. Yeah. But I think that as long, we know what is correct. And if we would go against what God is teaching us now, that would be, to me, very bad.
Right.
And the only thing I say is those other people have not been taught.
Oh, it's gonna get super ugly, and then God's gonna reach down and deliver Israel. And they say Israel is gonna mourn and cry, and when they realize, what they have done and how they have got away from God.
It's interesting, isn't it?
I tell you.
Armageddon.
That last.
Now, I'm gonna be gone before Armageddon.
That's disturbing.
We took it.
Yeah, I don't know what you guys think. I mean, I read that article and I don't like reading it, but I don't feel like I gotta leave the United Brethren Church because of that article. But I just need to pay attention. That's what I need
Well,
to do.
and since we've learned it, we may need to start doing something with our denomination, telling them how we feel,
Right.
Well, it's a big
The thing
deal.
to remember is that your allegiance isn't to your denomination, it's to God.
It's true.
But when I have to face,
Why that is not.
You talk to the bishop.
when I have to face
Our
Jesus,
allegiance isn't to the
No, I got that off of just searching the internet for articles. That wasn't from the United Brethren. I tried to find it on our website, but there was nothing about Palestine at all. Not just that, but nothing. So they may not, it's very possible they put something else out after this that I just didn't find.
That's kind of old.
So, I mean, I'm not trying to say
I like
something
what he
negative.
said. Our allegiance is not to the denomination.
No, it's not, it's not. I mean,
And that's probably another reason why I have a hard time saying I side with Israel, because ultimately my allegiance isn't going to be to Israel, it's to God. Now, God supports Israel in a lot of ways, but like I said previously, Israel has also went away from God historically a lot, you know, that's what we all do.
And they've been punished for it.
Yeah,
They have,
So-
repeatedly. And
If-
God
if
doesn't
like-
support them in a lot of ways. God supports
Yeah.
them unilaterally.
yeah, if Israel is doing what's God's will, then I support it, and if they're not, then I don't support it, but I don't, that's why I don't take a stance on it. I take a stance that I support God's will, and I don't know exactly what his will is at this moment.
And I say, keep
support
reading
it
your
no
Bible.
matter what, because God does.
Keep reading your Bible because it's pretty clear.
He punishes them,
It's,
but
if
there
you study
still
this
is.
covenant, the covenant of the Abrahamic covenant, I was reading about it earlier, it's very clear and it's a major covenant from the Bible.
I'm aware of it.
Yeah,
Hey,
so
I got a question.
you can't,
Just because the Jews are God's people, have they accepted him as their savior?
Well, a lot of them,
You-
a lot of them have.
yeah,
Many of them have.
they're just as infallible as the rest of us. I mean,
Well,
you know, they have.
you don't hear that part, you know?
so that's just, yeah, I'm willing to
Well,
discuss
let's
too if
just
you guys
put-
want to.
Let's just put it this way. If they're not following God and what's right, they're not gonna go to heaven no matter who they belong to.
Well, if they're not
It's the
saved by
same, it's the
Jesus,
same thing as us.
Well, the Jewish faith actually doesn't accept Jesus as Messiah, so I
Right.
believe that as I say it there, you know what side they're actually on.
Unless they're Messianic.
the
Oh
Messianic
yeah, like
Jews
the
do.
main line of the Jewish.
So-
Because the Jewish faith actually doesn't even claim the Messianic Jewish faith is.
That doesn't mean
They
that
say
they
they're
don't
Christian,
exist.
they say they're not Jewish.
Yeah.
Or-
That doesn't mean that they don't exist.
Kind of like
The Messianic Jews do believe that
I know.
Jesus Christ is their Savior. So just as Christians, we have the option to believe or not to believe, just as people, not Christians.
Yeah, it's not a
This is
Jewish
pe-
exclusive.
It's not.
No.
It's not. We all
No,
have
I'm
that.
not saying it is.
Okay, I'm gonna mess with you. So jump into the New Testament. Are we not, or neither Jew nor Gentile when we're in Christ
Hang on.
Jesus?
Say that again, Carla.
Okay, we're jumping into the New Testament.
Yeah.
We are neither Jew nor Gentile when we are in Christ Jesus.
Right.
So,
I do not believe that.
you know,
No,
I'm gonna find the verse for you. didn't
I do
know
not
the
believe
Bible.
that. I believe,
I'm talking about in the spirit. I'm not talking about faith, religion, or whatever.
I'm not trying to disagree with you or argue it publicly. I'm just saying, I don't believe that, folks.
And if we
Well,
call
if
This
it's
is-
in the
God,
Bible, you have to believe
This
it.
is God's plan right here.
if we call
Yeah.
God
This is God's plan.
Abba Father,
And
are
it's
we
a-
not adopted Jews then? How
And
about
it's
that?
a big deal. That's what I did
This is
a lot
God's
of
plan,
study.
right? Why did God do this?
Right?
Why did God do this? Why did God pull out Abraham and separate him from the rest of the world?
Because he said he
He
was
said,
right.
you are going to be the one that shines my light and represent me.
That's right.
Everything is going to come through you to include the Christ.
Yes.
That's the plan.
And
It's
that's-
not something, it's tangible, guys.
Well, then how can you disagree with something that's in the Bible?
I'm not disagreeing with anything.
Yeah, you did. You
What did
said
I disagree with?
I disagree
That
with
we
that.
were no longer Jews nor Gentiles.
Okay, so my comment after that would be simply this. We are adopted into the family of God as a Gentile.
Yeah.
We have been adopted into the family of God. That's the family of God.
The family of God includes all religions that have Christ.
That's the family of God.
Believer.
We think.
I don't know that I completely agree.
So, okay.
Okay, but, let's say some of Ishmael's,
Not the family of God.
not all of them are gonna die and go to hell. There's some people under Ishmael that have found Christ,
Yeah.
right?
Well, that's the same thing with,
Well, God's will has many, many terms.
yeah.
So,
What if?
this is just me, guys. This is the family of God right here. Jesus Christ did not create something new. He is a Jew
Yep.
who belongs to Abraham.
Yep.
This is the family of God.
Yep.
We Gentiles are not these people, and when we accept Him as our Messiah, we are adopted into His family. Not a new family.
So we're no longer Gentiles, we're in God's family.
We're God's family.
And the Jews
Period.
that are not under, well, let's take a.
Does that mean we become a Jew? No.
No.
That's not what that means.
It does mean we are part of God's family, period.
Jews are human just like us.
Yeah.
Yes.
The choice of to believe or not.
They have a choice just like us.
Yeah.
In fact, that's why we get so angry. They got more information than we do.
Right?
They were raised with this, right?
Right.
So-
I know, I have one friend who is Jewish, one friend, and she just blew my mind about, and she was Messianic Jew, you know, so we had a lot of commonalities there, and she blew my mind with the knowledge that she had. It was like, that's nuts.
As far as Old Testament, if you get a Jew that's read the Torah